James Bernard, on behalf of the ministry, wish to inform the general public that from now onward and as part of our ongoing commitment to maintaining a clean and sustainable environment, the Ministry of Waste Management and Resource Innovations frowns at the way citizens of the state don't keep their immediate environment clean, dump waste indiscriminately across the state like in the gutters, thereby blocking drainages and waterways, causing flooding. It is on this regard that I wish to communicate some significant changes and regulations that will take effect immediately. 1. Keep your immediate surrounding clean. Take responsibility of waste generated by you. Package your waste properly to be taken to certified dump sites. Avoid dumping waste in gutters and waterways. Participate in community cleanup initiatives. 2. The ministry have reintroduced sanitary inspectors who, together with enforcement team, will be deployed to conduct regular inspections throughout the state. They will assess compliance levels and provide guidance to those who may need assistance with proper waste disposal practices. Please cooperate with them. 3. Activities of private waste managers in the state have been banned forthwith until an appropriate operational permit are obtained from the Ministry of Waste Management and Resource Innovations. 4. Illegal dumping of waste by any private waste managers shall henceforth attract a fine of 350,000 naira only and their utility truck confiscated. 5. Illegal dumping of waste by an individual shall henceforth attract a fine of 150,000 naira only. 6. Cleanliness starts from your home. Be a part of the solution and not part of the pollution. If you can't clean up your surroundings, then don't make it dirty. 1. Who maintains cleanliness keep away diseases. Follow cleanliness to kill tomorrow diseases. Together, we can create a cleaner, greener, and healthier Taraba. Announcer, Philibus Daniel Adamu, Permanent Secretary. The Honorable
Hello, hi, my name is Shailene Msika. I am a Zimbabwean girl, but I grew up in South Africa, and I'm currently at my family home in Zimbabwe in hopes of connecting deeper to my roots. I came back here to do that because I think that's an important thing to do as an artist and in that journey. With that being said, I am a writer and a director, and I'm so excited to be part of the Tariff 2025 podcast in order to talk about my directorial debut, a documentary called Forgotten: The Human Cost of Homelessness. About the documentary focuses on a select group of homeless people in Silverton in Pretoria, but deals with issues that are faced by these homeless people all over the world. The documentary's aim is to foster empathy for the homeless populations of the world. I find that many times, or these days, people have become so desensitized to the issue of homelessness, so much so that they find it very easy to walk by homeless people, forgetting that these are not non-playable characters. They are real people going through real issues, and I wanted their stories to be heard. In the documentary, we have the homeless population, talk about the issues themselves and tell the stories and say exactly what they want to say, so that the people who are watching can hear the stories from the perspective of the homeless people themselves. And hopefully that will be enough to foster that empathy and to make you rethink why people are homeless in reality, because it's not just they don't want to get a job or they're addicted to drugs. The issues that cause homelessness are way deeper than people think these days. In the documentary, we deal with issues such as the way cities are built, specifically South Africa, the way these cities are built that contribute to homelessness. We speak about substance abuse, we speak about family structures, we speak about jobs and payment structures, and how all these things contribute to the homeless populations. And hopefully this documentary will be able to foster that empathy.
Hello, colleagues. My name is Alexey Burnosenko. I'm from Warsaw, Poland. And yeah, in the industry, in cinema, I mostly play the role of actor, also actor and director in theater. And yeah, here I'm representing on the festival the beautiful documentary called The Forest. And the reason why I really desired to take part in this podcast and in the festival itself is because this documentary I'm representing is a part of my history, part that is like even my people never heard about in majority. And this is kind of result of investigation, result of research, result of great piece of work and art. And yeah, I really would like people of the world to know about it. I really want to share this information so people will learn on the mistakes of our past and never accept it in our future. Thank you very much.
Welcome to Psalm TV World News. I am Abraham Minor Joda. And as the world watches for the next frontier of growth, we say, look to Taraba State, Nigeria, a land rich in resources, ripe with opportunity, and ready for bold investments. Now here are the major news. Trump shift approach on Russia, says former advisor. King Charles and Prince William mark 80th anniversary of Veterans Day. Saudi Arabia hesitates on BRICS membership amid U.S. relations. Now the news in full. U.S. President Donald Trump is adopting a tougher stance towards Russia to secure a ceasefire in Ukraine, according to his former special envoy, Kurt Volker. Volker stated that Trump has become really aligned with Ukraine and is now taking the hard way to pressure Russian President Vladimir Putin to end the war. Volker suggested that Congress should strengthen Trump's end by approving secondary sanctions against major Russian entities. Despite initial tensions, Trump and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky has patched up their relationship, with the U.S. and Ukraine signing a mirrors deal that could unlock new U.S. weapons for Ukraine. The Ukrainian parliament has ratified a strategic minerals deal with the United States, granting the U.S. preferential access to Ukrainian mineral resources. The agreement, signed on April 30, 2025 in Washington, D.C., aims to strengthen strategic cooperation between the two parties for the long-term reconstruction and modernization of Ukraine in response to Russia's full-scale invasion. The deal was approved with 338 votes in favor and none against. The minerals deal paves the way for possible new military aid for Kiev, although it lacks clear security guarantees. The agreement is global investment into Ukraine, particularly in the development and extraction of minerals, oil, and gas. The fund will be jointly managed by Ukraine and the U.S., with Ukraine contributing 50% of revenue from new licenses for projects in critical materials and oil and gas sector. This deal is seen as a crucial step in Ukraine's effort to mend ties with the U.S. and secure future military assistance in its fight against Russian troops. Meanwhile, Russia's Defense Ministry claims Ukrainian forces have made 2 attempts to breach the border into Russia's Kursk region since a 3-day ceasefire began. Moscow and Kiev has accused each other of violating the ceasefire, with Ukraine refusing to commit, calling it a ploy by Russian President Vladimir Putin to appear committed to ending the war. Despite Russia's assertion that it observed the ceasefire, Ukraine's military spokesman alleged Russia continued assaults on the Eastern Front, resulting in casualties. A 55-year-old woman was reportedly killed in the bombing of Ukraine's northern Sumy region. The ceasefire coincides with the 80th anniversary of the World War II defeat of Nazi Germany, and Putin will host Chinese President Xi Jinping at a military parade on Moscow Red Square on May 9. British King Charles and Prince William's laid words at Westminster Abbey on Thursday to commemorate the 80th anniversary of victory in Europe. The Thanksgiving service began with a 2-minute silence across the country to remember Nazi Germany's unconditional surrender, which took effect on May 8, 1945. King Charles, 78, who is also undergoing treatment for cancer, and Prince William stood beside elderly veterans in wheelchairs, showing respect for those who lost their lives in World War II. The anniversary coincides with ongoing conflict in Europe, particularly Russia's war in Ukraine. Russian President Vladimir Putin spoke of the sacred victory over Adolf Hitler, characterizing the current conflict as a stand against neo-Nazism, a claim rejected by Kiev. Meanwhile, French President Emmanuel Macron laid a wreath at the statue of Charles de Gaulle in Paris, inspected a troop parade at the Arc de Triomphe, while President Frank-Walter Steinmeier addressed the Bundestag in Berlin. A concert at Ostgard Parade for 10,000 people with featured music and stories of veterans, with King Charles and Queen Camilla in attendance. Saudi Arabia has chosen not to join the BRICS bloc despite attending a meeting in Brazil last week. Two sources familiar with Saudi policy says the kingdom is cautious about upsetting Washington as it seeks to seal significant deals with its U.S. ally, including a potential arms package worth over $100 billion. The decision reflects Saudi Arabia's delicate balancing act between its relationships with China, its largest oil customer, and the U.S., its key security and technology partner. While the kingdom seems valuing engaging with BRICS, it prioritizes historical alliance with the U.S. Saudi Arabia trade with China has grown significantly, with exports reaching $4.05 billion in February, a 20.6% increase from the previous year. The kingdom's partnership with the U.S. remains central to its security, investment, and technology ambitions. Human Rights Watch has released a report criticizing Greece for stifling press freedom since Prime Minister Kyriakos Mitsotakis' conservative government took office in 2019. According to Human Rights Watch, journalists in Greece face phone malware and aggressive lawsuits known as strategic lawsuit against public participation, which are claims of defamation or breach of EU data protection. At least 15 journalists reported facing lawsuits or legal threats for their reporting. Human Rights Watch is urging the Greek government to implement reforms to protect press freedom, including ensuring public media independence, adopting anti-SLAPP legislation, and shielding journalists from surveillance. The pervasive and deliberate constraints on journalism in Greece are creating an environment in which critical reporting is stifled and self-censorship becomes the norm, says Hugh Williamson, Europe and Central Asia Director at Human Rights Watch. The government has dismissed these allegations, but the issue of press freedom in Greece gained significant attention in 2022 after a wiretapping scandal revealed the use of spyware on journalists' phones. Fighting along the Nile River in South Sudan has prevented humanitarian aid from reaching over 60,000 malnourished children in the northeast for nearly a month, according to the United Nations World Food Programme and UNICEF. The agencies warned that nutrition supply for Upper Nile State, which has some of the highest malnutrition rates in the country, will run out by end of May. Children are the first to suffer during emergencies, and without access to nutrition supplies, the situation is likely to worsen. Mary Ellen Magro-Ati, WFP's representative in South Sudan, emphasized that if we can get nutrition supplies through, we are likely to see escalating malnutrition in areas already at breaking point. The Nile River is a crucial transport artery in South Sudan, but the fighting has disrupted aid barges. In mid-April, barges carrying 1,000 metric tons of food and nutrition supplies were forced to return due to insecurity. The agencies have decided against prepositioning supplies in insecure areas to avoid looting. We have reluctantly taken the unprecedented step of holding back supplies for fear that they will not reach the children that so desperately need them due to ongoing fighting, looting, and disruption of the river roads, say Obia Acheng. UNICEF representative government forces have been fighting an ethnic militia known as the White Army in areas near the Nile since March, leading to a political crisis that could reignite a brutal civil war that ended in 2018. The situation in South Sudan is critical, with millions of people facing acute food shortages and malnutrition. The Vatican's secret conclave to elect a new pope continued on Thursday without a decision being made. Black smoke billowing from the Sistine Chapel chimney signaled that the cardinals' morning votes were inconclusive. The cardinals will hold 2 votes each in the morning and afternoon until a candidate wins the necessary 2/3 majority to become the next pontiff. This process follows an initial inconclusive vote on Wednesday evening. The world waits with anticipation for the election of the Catholic Church's new leader. Egypt has implemented nearly 500 economic reform measures between May 2022 and December 2024, aiming to boost private sector investment and drive sustainable growth. The reforms reviewed by Prime Minister Mustafa Madobuli align with the country's state ownership policy document, focusing on 6 key areas: monetary policy, competition, industrial development, investment climate, legal frameworks, and state ownership. These reforms have yielded significant results, including boosting foreign direct investment, where it's for 6.1 billion in foreign direct investment in first year 2023 to 2024, with an additional 14.5 billion in portfolio inflows. 134 reforms contributing to 14% increase in all export to 40.8 billion in 2024. The reforms have also introduced also including tax incentive and expedited licensing. Private sector contribution rose to 74.8% of GDP in F year 2025 to 2023 and accounted for over 81% of new jobs in 2023. Egypt signed a $35 billion development deal with the UAE for the Ras Al Khaimah project, expected to attract up to 150 billion in total investments. The reform package has received international recognition for institutions like the World Bank, UN, ESCWA, McKinsey, and Startup Blink, demonstrating Egypt's commitment to economic growth and development. A magnitude 5.6 earthquake struck the Peru-Ecuador border region on Thursday, according to the German Research Center for Geosciences. The quake has a depth of 10 kilometers, sparking concern among local residents and prompting authorities to monitor for potential aftershocks and evaluate damage. Fortunately, the impact of the quake appears to be minimal, with only light shaking reported close to the epicenter and weak shaking felt in Guayaquil, Ecuador's largest city. 2 people were reportedly injured and minor damage was noted. The region's seismic activity is contributed to the subduction of the Nazca Plate beneath the South American plate, which has led to significant earthquakes in the past. In fact, the global earthquake activity rate model suggests that a magnitude 6.75 or higher earthquake is likely in this region. Brazil has achieved a historic milestone in its energy sector, with crude oil export reaching an all-time high of $44.8 billion over the past year. This marks a 5.2% increase compared to the previous year, with crude oil surpassing soybeans to become Brazil's leading exports, accounting for 13.3% of the nation's total export volume. Despite the surge in crude oil export, Brazil faces a concerning structural vulnerability due to its insufficient domestic refining capacity. The country exports over half of 52.1% of its oil output in unrefined form, only to import fuels such as gasoline and diesel. Currently, Brazil's imports approximately 10% of its gasoline and 25% of its diesel requirements, highlighting the need for investment in refining infrastructure to meet domestic demand and reduce reliance on imports. Colombian President Gustavo Petro has accused U.S. Representative Mario Diaz-Balart of leading an effort to remove him from office. Petro claimed that Diaz-Balart is working with Colombia far-right to orchestrate his ousting through congressional channels and silence his participation in upcoming election. Petro warned that any attempt to remove him could spark a revolution in Colombia and expressed hope that the U.S. government is not backing the effort. Diaz-Balart responded sharply, stating that Petro seems to be once again under the influence of drugs, alcohol, or both, and criticized Petro for not providing evidence to support his claims. The tensions between Petro and Diaz-Balart stems from their differing views on drug policy, security strategy, and diplomatic ties with Venezuela. Petro's accusation has raised concerns about the relationship between the two countries and the potential impact on Colombia's political stability. And that's it on Sun TV World News. And as the world advances, don't just watch from afar. Come invest in Taraba State, where potential meets promise and the future is waiting to be built with you. I am Abraham Mine Judah. Have a wonderful day.
I am Navaiha Kuharaja from Sri Lanka. I am a filmmaker passionate about bringing untold stories of resilience, identity, and human rights. I have submitted my film An Island Story to Tahrir Festival.